stage here 4 individuals who are representative of a very nice, larger group of individuals. Some of them are in this room. Now look around this room, and there are people who are really experienced at making investments. People like Henry Keene, who came here from Chicago a couple of years ago, that knows medical devices. He knows life sciences. Ken Euler, I saw him somewhere in the room. Ken has invested in many companies. I think he still runs about 7 right now. He's got a lot going on. David Richardson and Steve Huey, a couple entrepreneurs and investors who introduced me to one of the panelists that I met 2 years ago. Dynamic people making things happen. So by no means are these 4 necessarily the top 4, the only 4, but they are 4 very good representative people that can represent your thinking. So what a great segue now. So of the 4 that I'm going to introduce, 2 of them actually raise money and invested on behalf of the people they raise the money from. They have what you would call a seed fund or an angel fund. So they kind of serve as just like a company. They raise money, they consider where to invest it, and they invest it. So we have 2 that represent kind of that group of thinking. And then we have 2 individuals who invest their own money and time into their own deals. And oftentimes they co-invest, as you'll learn. So let me just introduce them. As I introduce your name, if you would just come up and take your seat there on the podium. First, Dale Bowden. Dale is the manager of the Yearling Fund. Dale is right here on East Main Street. I'm going to let them introduce themselves in just a minute because I've got kind of a softball question that will kind of get them in their introduction. Next is Greg Chapman. Greg runs Anchorage Angels, which, despite the name, is really is like a seed fund. Greg makes his own decisions as an investment committee of 1 and a few advisors, and he has been actively investing for a long time. The very first day I started the Enterprise Corp, the only thing I knew about angels is there was a group called Anchorage Angels, and Greg Chapman ran it. Been actively doing this for a long time, and actually was an investor in Jeff Amrine's company, his first company that had a nice exit.
Thank you.
That's why Greg still has dry powder to invest. So we're glad about that. Okay, the other 2 individuals. First, Mike Rasanti. Mike Rasanti has been an entrepreneur and investor in this community for a while. You remember Mike and Greg from their appearance on the Shark Tank back in the summer, if you remember for that. The great thing about Michael was, for a long time I was in the Clock Tower building, and he was the closest physical investor, along with Dale, to me, and so I would oftentimes just pop by and get some learning from Michael. Very, very involved in a number of businesses that he runs, and also an active investor. And last but certainly not least, Phoebe Wood. Now, Phoebe adds a lot of color to the committee because, unlike these 3 individuals, she has not been doing investing for many, many years. She really got involved in this shortly after Steve Huey introduced me to Phoebe, shortly after she left Brown-Forman as the vice chairman and CFO. And I tried to make a pitch to Phoebe to get involved in angel investing. I thought she'd be great at it. And after a couple of years, she has learned a lot, and I think she is great at it. She'll tell you some of her stories when she comes on up. So Phoebe, Wood, come on up here and be our phone call. Okay, so you guys can have a seat and relax. I hope that microphone works. We're just going to pass that around. Greg, if you would, just when you get a chance, grab that off the stand, and we'll test the mic. I have a couple of thought starters. I'm going to ask a couple of questions to kind of get the conversation rolling, and then I'm going to start walking around with the microphone. And again, low-risk environment. If you want to raise your hand if you have a question, we can grill the angels today and really find out what they think. Okay, so first, let me do this. I want each of you to tell me briefly about the kind of company that you invest in. Give us a feel for what stage they're in, maybe what industries you like, and if you would, just give us a feel for how much money that company is typically raising, and how much you personally might invest from your fund or from yourself. So, Greg, why don't you start it off and we'll go down the road. Is this on?
Yes.
Oh, I had my glasses on. Brought my own iPad.
He needs a cover.
I need a stand for this thing. Anybody got a stand to hold up a piece of paper? Okay, financial technology, medical technology, life sciences companies, manufacturing services technology, digital media, information technology. We invest and have invested in all those types of businesses and more, but that's pretty much what we look for. The other part of the question was...
Yeah, what stage company? How far along?
We invest in everything from IP only, pre-revenue, to cusp of revenue, to several of our investments recently in Anchorage 3, the 3rd Anchorage Angel Fund, by the way, have been in companies that are actually producing EBITDA. EBITDA is a concept that most of you are probably not familiar with. But Anchorage Angels investors are very familiar with EBITDA.
And give us a feel for the sweet spot for your round, Greg. Is it a company raising $1 million, $500,000, $4 million?
Yes, let me refer to my iPad again. We typically invest in rounds that are between $500,000 and $2 million in total size. The participation size that we take initially is between $25,000 and $150,000, and then we typically, on an average, 2.5 to 3 times over the life of an investment, we'll put more money in. In one deal, we put money in 12 times, and we lost it all. Other companies, we put in money once, and we made a lot of money. So there's no correlation there, but you have to be willing to feed your children, especially the sick ones.
All right, very good. All right, Michael, you're up next. Give us a feel for that same space.
Sure. Just to clarify, I wear 2 hats when I'm investing. One is as a partner in More Investments, which is an investment partnership similar to Angels and Yearling. And then I wear an individual hat making other investments. So with Evermore, we've got a more defined investment criteria, typically investing in companies that have a value of between $1 million and $5 million, and we're typically investing usually $100,000 to $200,000 in the initial round, with the knowledge that we'll do follow-on investments, over a time if necessary. And the sweet spot there is typically technology companies, companies that are solving problems, creating efficiencies, creating revenue, and medical device companies, software companies. We've got one investment in an offshore manufacturing company that really is sourcing offshore manufacturing facilities for domestic companies. So it's really sort of across the range. As an individual investor, I tend to be rather opportunistic. We all know in the last couple of years we had the banks sort of contracting, and home builders were in a tough spot. I happen to know a home builder who was building out in Norton Common. They were not capital constrained themselves, but wanted to start building spec homes. So I structured an investment with those folks to do essentially what was a mezzanine type debt structure to allow them to capitalize on the opportunity. Very strategic in that development only, in price range of $300,000 to $500,000. So it made a lot of sense to me. It's working very well, but just an example of an opportunistic investment.